Hello, welcome to Grafana's Big Tent podcast, all about the people, community, tools, and tech around observability. We're today talking all about the hackathon. Matt Toback's here just laughing at my face at this point. No, it's good to be back, back with you on a podcast.
Tools, community, people, and tech.
That is way too late because that's been in every episode.
Can we go back and do it?
We could go back in time and change them all.
Who do we have here today? No, are we introing again? Let's try again. Hello. No, go ahead. just take the wheel, please. Oh my God, I'm not going to get us out of this parking lot.
No, I like it. I like just being told what to say by you, and then I just have to say it exactly. Otherwise, you just stop me and it's good. I think this is good. Okay, yeah. So, today we're talking about the hackathon again, and particularly these science fair projects, which is very exciting, and I'll talk a bit more about what that is. But yes, let's meet our panel. Well, Matt Toback's here. We've talked to you already.
Yeah.
Sven is also here. Sven, my friend, hello. Sven Großmann, yes?
Hey. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Matt.
Hello.
So Großmann, if I translate that, it means massive man. Is that big?
Yeah,
is that right in German?
Yeah. Big man, maybe.
Big man. Yeah. That's quite a modest last name, isn't it?
What is your name in German, though?
I don't know. My name, it might be a bird.
A bird, yeah. Could be. I don't know. I mean, we might have some dashboards to check for it, right?
Well, you do a lot of projects about birds. I know you know a lot about birds.
No, I do projects because I don't know much about birds.
Is this foreshadowing?
Sven wants to track where all the birds in the world are. Is that not going to rest?
Is this a true thing that pre-existed your time at Grafana?
So, I don't know. I mean, I've done a lot of dashboards and birds, so yeah.
Do you play Wingspan?
No.
All right, well.
I have it, but I never played it, actually.
Has anyone else on our panel played Wingspan?
Oh, I've got a nod from Alexa, who's also joining us. Alexa, hello. Welcome.
Hello. Yes, I actually play Wingspan, but I don't have dashboards with birds. So,
can we change this podcast to talk about Wingspan instead of hackathons, please?
I don't know what it is. What is it?
Whoa, Alexa, tell him.
All right, don't treat her like a home assistant.
That is the most.
I can't believe it.
We talked about this are we allowed to say what happened before this? And we said, and Alexa's only request was, please, under no circumstances, make a joke. Alexa didn't
about my name and I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. The only thing that I can say is a board game, but I don't have more data. I play with friends who are very fans of Wingspan, and I just play them. They explain the rules every single time, and I just play. So, yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, a board game. Well, I'm learning already. Lukasz is also joining us. Hi, Lukasz. How are you?
Hey, everyone. I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here. How's everyone doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Do you play Wingspan?
No, I do play some other board games, though. I think my favorite one is Neuroshima Hex. This is actually, I believe, made by a Polish creator, a Polish artist. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit like chess, but in 5D. It's quite complex, and the interactions, they get pretty tense, but it's so much fun. So if anyone listening here wants to pick up a great board game, Neuroshima Hex is definitely a way to go.
Right, and that's within the laws of physics, is it, this game?
Interplanetary physics, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Isn't 4D normally just because you go to the 4D, the theaters and the theme parks, and it just like spritzes water in your face? Yeah,
that's 4D chess.
Okay, all right, 4D chess.
If you lose a pawn, you get sprayed in the face and your chair rockets, and there's a shot of air from somewhere.
Sven, I'm sorry. I feel like we didn't give you an opportunity. What board games do you play?
I don't know, but I had the question, like, if you have Wingspan, are there wing traces as well, or wing profiles, wing metrics, wing logs? How about that?
There we go.
No, I don't play that much. I play a bit of chess, do a bit of sports, but that's it.
Yeah. At the same time or separate?
I think there are some, championships about that, but it's mostly about drinking and playing and not playing chess, but yeah.
But that's just normal chess. How many dimensions is normal chess played in? I guess it is 3D because you're in 3D space, but then also time, do you count that as the fourth dimension?
Can you move the time? Do you have to be able to manipulate it in order to play it?
So the time doesn't count. Unless you yourself traveling really fast relative to someone else. You get a slight advantage.
You can start and stop the time with the clock.
Oh.
You kind of manipulate it.
Oh, yeah, you can stop time with
Was that word time or game time?
No, Sven, it doesn't pause the actual universe.
No? Okay.
No.
How would you, all right, so then chess corner, how would you put traces, logs, or metrics onto observing a chess game? Mm-hmm. Let's do this quick.
So I think, does you have to move your logs and get them over to the right place?
Oh, no. I don't mean that. I don't mean it's the pieces. I mean, how would you, how would you instrument a chess game? So metrics would be the amount of moves, how would that go?
Yeah, moves over time, I guess. I mean, a trace is simple, right? It's just how a piece moves, maybe.
So you'd be able to go and see like this rook would have made all these individual moves throughout the game.
Yeah, and then maybe events would be when a rook takes out another piece or something like that. Like an event at a trace.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then what would you alert on? I guess anything, but what would be interesting?
A check, obviously.
Yeah. I think losing a piece, that's an alert, isn't it? You probably be all right getting woken up if you've lost a bishop.
Yeah.
If you've fallen asleep in the middle of the game.
Yeah, but you've got to have your on-call stuff set up as well, if we're doing it properly.
And then you run machine learning on it to calculate the next move, right? But I think that's illegal.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But
we're definitely doing that.
All right, so then inadvertently, I'm curious, is this how most hackathon projects start? Something absurd like this that then turns into a real idea?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, it sounds like a fun project to do, right? Because I mean, the chess community is big, and why not just observe things that you normally don't observe? So
how would you go about picking? And this is for everyone. This isn't just Sven, but like pick who would you pick as your team? Let's say you had this idea, or I guess the handful of us here. What would happen next if this is a hackathon project?
Yeah, you've got to find someone interested. How do you do that? Because we have an internal Slack channel called Hackathon, but that channel not many people post in there sometimes, but it must happen more organically than that, doesn't it? How do you join a team? How do you find out about teams for Hackathon?
I think it's sometimes a good mix of just, you have a rough idea of a team and, I don't know, I need someone who's good at front end or something like that. And then you ask your friends, your colleagues, or I mean, for chess, you can just ask in the chess channel. I'm sure there's one, because it's also a good opportunity to get to know more people.
Yeah, I always like that when you work on a project with people you've never worked with before. And I honestly wonder if one of the times we do it, that could be a rule, because it is very different. It's harder in some ways because you don't know the people. But it's a great way to also meet people that you haven't worked with before, and also just have completely fresh perspective on an idea.
I think this is one of the greatest things about hackathons here at Grafana, that you actually go outside of your bubble and have the opportunity to work with other amazing people. And the truth is we have so many here at the company that, it's just a real pleasure, right? And normally without a hackathon, it's not so easy to get alignment across multiple teams, possibly working on something. Definitely not, you usually don't have time for much experimenting if there is no real commitment to the project. So this hackathon week gives really great flexibility, I think, to engineers just to get to know each other and also see what are strengths of other people across the company. This is really amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of times I've worked with people in the hackathon for the first time and then later have worked with them for real.
Is it different?
You do get there's a big head start you have, because the hackathon's quite intense. Depends on where you are. Mm-hmm. But I go camping when I do mine. And these are like, so it's like a week. I always go, I'm working the whole week usually. And sometimes there's a weekend attached as well. So it does tend to be kind of all on intense kind of thing. And that can be quite a bonding experience because you feel like you've survived something together that's like a bit more intense. It doesn't have to be like that, by the way. Like it's like that because you want it to be, because you're interested and it's fun. There's no like there's no culture or even mandate or anything that suggests that you have to do anything like that. But you are free to sort of do whatever you want in the hackathon, which is kind of part of the appeal, isn't it?
I love the idea that you join someone's, you're like, hey, I'm thinking about this idea. You want to join my team? And they're like, cool, let's do it. And then 3 days later, you knock at their door with like a tent in hand, and you're like, all right, I'm moving in for the week. And they're like,
yeah, that'd be good.
This is actually the last missing part of our hackathons. We actually should get a proper budget, either to meet with other Grafanistas. Maybe we try to have a team assemble with local Grafanistas, and you actually go and hang out together for like a week as you would do in a regular hackathon. These are so much fun. And I remember when I was back at university, we took every opportunity with my friends to join hackathons. We would travel across Poland to multiple cities, take pizza, energy drinks, and just sleep on the floor and just hack, or sometimes not sleep. If a hackathon is like 48 hours, you can do it. We did it. So this is, I think, the last missing piece here at Grafana, which we can improve.
Have you done anyone here, has anyone done the equivalent of a hackathon for something that wasn't work related with friends or otherwise? Yeah, Alexa, what was that?
Yeah, I'm originally from Colombia, so I used to live in Medellin, and this is kind of like the tech hub thing there. And for there was an event or several events that they called Startup Weekend. So you just go there. I went as an engineer, but of course I didn't have any team, anyone. And then there's people who has ideas, and they pitch the ideas, and then you just join them for the weekend. And indeed, you spend kind of like almost whole day, part of the night, go home and sleep next day early. And the idea is at the end, you have sort of a prototype, and also you pitch the idea, you win prizes. But you don't know, this is like completely people from different backgrounds, marketeers, product owners, engineers.
Oh, wow.
Everyone is there. It was really nice experience because it's just fun. It's just like, oh, let's just build something.
Yeah.
And also you know people, and they're like really cool people there. So it's quite nice.
What'd you make?
For me. In our case, we make a platform, I still remember, for creators. So it was like people who, let's say that you have a band and you are a painter. So we wanted to make a platform for creators to pitch their services there for free. So it's just like put everything there. And if you want to find an artist, you could just go there and do it. So we kind of like call different artists and different people, and we create some prototypes during the weekend for that.
Oh, that's cool.
And also we had, because I think the event was organized by people who were from a startup world, so they were giving us harsh feedback.
Oh.
And it was like you were iterating, and they were like crushing your idea in front of you. So that was quite good.
Like in the classic startup way, saying like, well, how is this going to scale? Like, how are you going to make money? Like,
what
that
is
type
your
thing?
model thing, business model? This doesn't scale. This doesn't make money. It was quite intense. But it was nice because somehow you know that they are helping you. So it's not that they want to crush your ideas. They just like want to like help you into that mindset.
Yeah.
So it was quite cool.
You know, and actually, before we get much further, I do want to call out one thing for this interview that, or this whole panelist is, Matt, you are not just a presenter, you are also a participant in the hackathons, and you happen to be a participant in one of the hackathons that Sven was in. And I think you have a conflict of interest here, and you have to decide who you're going to be today.
All right, I'll be Captain Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack has no skin in this game. He's neither on hackathon teams nor hosting a podcast, as far as I know.
Has your Captain Jack Sparrow impression made an appearance on this podcast yet?
No, I don't think so. And I wasn't going to crowbar it in, but it's sort of perfect, isn't it? It writes itself.
You could have picked Jonathan as well, right? Has Jonathan made an experience?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how well known Jonathan is. We can explain who Jonathan is.
Well, actually, can we come back to that? And can someone remind? Because I have a couple questions. Jonathan plays into it, but I want to ask, and Matt, that maybe as a participant in the hackathons and as well. So there is this thing at the beginning where you have an idea, and you have to communicate it to this smaller group of this team to be able to get it across. What's that like? Because there's all these different. It feels like there's a lot of building, but there's also a lot of communicating, kind of like what you can accomplish in a week. So I guess individually, not like specifically how do you do it, but how do you think about that when you have the idea and when you're trying to assemble a group? Like, how do you communicate that idea to a small group or get people bought in?
Yeah, well, I think, mate, the thing about this is, you've got to remember, these projects, Savvy, you've got to be able to explain them quickly, mate. You haven't got time when you're out on the high seas. Also, the wind is cold and it's loud out there, mate. No, but I mean that, like, yeah, an idea, you ought to be able to succinctly explain it to someone, like, and that part of like thinking about what the project is part of that. So if it's a great idea but you can't quite articulate it, you haven't quite thought it through, or you're going to need to hack on it more to figure out what it is, but you've got a sort of idea of something in that area, that's a lot more difficult to sell to somebody than just something simple like, we're going to put a new button on a panel, and when you click it, it orders a t-shirt with that panel printed on it at that time. So
you're like a hackathon generating bot. I would do that.
Oh, I'm in that project. I would do that.
There you go. For example, so it's like, panels on t-shirts. You can just say it like that, and people know what it is.
So for other folks as well, like what did one of your projects sound like at the beginning versus what did it grow into, if you recall?
So for me, it definitely starts way earlier than the hackathon. For the last hackathon, the last project, which I think we're going to have a chance to talk about later as well, the idea actually popped into my mind a few months earlier when I was reading some materials on what an agent or an LLM agent or LLM-based agent actually is. And I remember I was reading some sort of a blog post that would explain how to build one in Go in particular. And I remember reading it and being like, it can't be this simple. It can't be a for loop with a bunch of marshalling, unmarshalling, and calling functions. And then it turned out it actually is that simple, because I read a few more blog posts. I put together quickly a prototype, and indeed it was. And then I remember we had an offsite with my team in Barcelona, and I just went ahead and started pitching this idea that I had this time around for what later became an agentic monitoring project for the hackathon. So I remember trying to pitch the idea from a couple of different angles and see how different people react to it. And when I actually found the angle that gets people excited, I came back from the offsite to my home office. I wrote down like a very quick product DNA, just a couple of paragraphs. So there is something to share with the people. And then just before the hackathon, like a week before the hackathon, I started sharing this. I said, I have this idea. If nobody wants to join, I'm going to do it anyway. But if you want to come along for the ride, please, here it is. This is what we are going to be building. And I did it like twice or three times already, kind of this loop where I start to pitch something. And then when I see some sort of saturation that people are excited about a particular angle at the problem, I try to write this down so I can have some artifact that I share with everyone. And it makes it so much easier to also align on day zero of the hackathon and also later lead it, because there is some thought given into the idea prior to the actual hacking week starting.
Yeah, and I imagine it's also giving you some signal as to what resonates, and if someone else immediately grabs onto it, it validates it along the way. I'm like, oh, there's something.
Exactly. And because, a week might seem like a lot of time, but if you are going and aiming for something ambitious, it's really not, right? So you want to get at least this fuzziness about your idea out of the way and have it sorted prior to the hackathon, right? You still need a little bit of ideation and detailing. What are you actually going to build and what's achievable in a week? This depends on the team you gathered, right? Maybe you're solo or two people, or maybe you actually gathered a fully fledged 5-person team. But once you have this product DNA before starting the hackathon, day zero just becomes so much easier.
Yeah, a few times that's how it's happened for us, where we kind of are thinking about this ahead of time, and you have some time to talk about it and think about it. There was one time I joined a team, and I think we called it like Alert Insights, and our original idea was just going to be to sort of enrich alerts as they're fired, and we pivoted into a runbook kind of project. So that was a case of one where what we thought we were going to do at the beginning changed dramatically once we got on the call all together to sort of start to chat through it. And Matt, your point is good. Like, yes, you get validation when there's people who like ideas. I think also you get the same signal if it's not resonating, if it's not sticking. You've either it's not thought through enough, or you haven't explained it properly, or something. So having like a group is a great sanity check there, and that's why having some diversity in that team as well, of people who worked on different things or have different experiences, that also helps, because you're more likely to get projects that are going to resonate with more people. But yeah, that is very fun. I always wonder how much work it's okay to do ahead of time. I know that some people, and I think like in a way we try and stick to sort of the main rules where you're really only building in that week, but actually copying other projects, like some cheating in that sense of like copying a project that you saw last time and doing a different take on it, or that someone else is working on a project and then you might want to do an alternative version of that. That kind of stuff also I think is quite healthy, and we should encourage it. It doesn't necessarily feel great if you lose to someone who's done the same project, because that's tough, I guess. But for the
group here, you've done these projects. Have you said no to things because it fell outside of the moral boundaries of the hackathon, or ethical boundaries, to where you're like, oh no, I can't use that, or I can't continue that project, or just something to where you're like, no, it's I might work on it separately, but it doesn't fit a hackathon.
I think the only thing for me really was 2 hackathons ago, where I was already part of one team and I was afraid of joining a second team, because like taking part in 2 teams in a hackathon feels wrong for several reasons. But in the end, I think both projects were quite good. So yeah.
Yeah, they both won, didn't they?
Yeah.
Did you contribute equally to both?
Yeah, kind of.
Did both teams know that you're on the other team, or did they not find out to the finals?
It's like Mrs. Doubtfire. He dressed as an old lady for one of the teams. Hello there.
I had a mustache in one team, always wearing a mustache.
Yeah.
Is this overemployed subreddit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was also working for a few North Korean companies at the same week.
I told you not to say that.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, but that's another thing that's quite funny. It's like how much you can get done really in that week, how you can contribute. For one project, I'd done like a few in my spare time, just hacked on some versions of this idea. So, but none of that code was used. That was just the hacking and playing around with it. The team picked up a completely different tech stack and kind of started again. So, but and in a way, I'd helped before by that thinking, but nothing was built in that week. So that felt okay. And also, like, the point is to do things that really move the needle. So we do need a bit of flexibility, I think, in that. I
think there are multiple reasons joining the hackathon, right? I mean, you can do it just for winning, or you can do it to innovate, or you can do it to learn stuff, or there are other reasons. And like all these different like reasons like also shape the way how you do the hackathon, I think. How competitive do you want to do it?
It's true that you can choose that, really, because there is a prize. For anyone that doesn't know, it's like a decent prize for winning, and I think the first, second, and third places get prizes, don't they? So did you get 2 prizes, Sven, when you entered 2 teams and you won twice?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about that.
No, you got 2 prizes. Cool.
Yeah, Alexa, what were you going to say?
I want to also to say that sometimes, like, because I have participated in different hackathons during over the years in Grafana, but this hackathon found me in a weird way, because the hackathon was born to solve a problem. And I saw that problem in two different places from two different people, and they were like not related. One was about like someone trying to detect how many panels were broken in their dashboard, but they had like they created their own script to like scan the dashboard and do all of these things, and there was like a lot of complexity there, and at the end the result was like they couldn't actually map the panel and the dashboard. It was because they were outside of Grafana, so it was not internal. And then I went into the list of ideas, and then I saw this repair hackathon idea. And the problem was also from someone who is working in Grafana, and they had the same problem as this external person and the same thing. But then it was kind of like mapping in one channel or Slack channel. I was like, oh yeah, you need to fix this in dashboards. Can you create some feature? And in the hackathon was like, oh, internally we are also experiencing the same. Can we create something around this? And for me, that was like, okay, this is matching. I think this is really a good opportunity to just explore what can we do in a week for that. So I joined a team that I didn't know. Like all of the team members were like Mari, there is developer advocate, and then Chris, who was in a different department, and then me. Never worked with them before. So it was quite interesting.
That's so cool that you picked a problem that you saw for real. And that I think is something that the hackathon gives us, because that knowledge is spread everywhere. Everyone has different experience and they have different insights into different bits of things. And, we all try and kind of have some contact with customers, so we have an idea of what people are doing and users, And yeah, I think that's it. It's like the inspiration to want to solve a problem that you've seen, and then having the opportunity at the next hackathon. It's only ever a couple of months away, really.
It was a week away. That was interesting. Like literally they posted the problem on Friday and next week was hackathon and someone else put that idea. I was like, oh, this looks like fate. Let's just join. Why not? So
nice. And how did you do? How did you do in the hackathon?
It was like interesting because first, well, we were like few people, 3 people. So we didn't have like a lot of time, because also I think all of us had like 4 days instead of the whole week. We were like time off and stuff. We never worked together, so we had to do that bonding really fast. So like putting quick things and trying to define the scope, because it was so ambitious and we wanted to do so many things that we needed to nail down what exactly we can achieve in a week. So it went pretty well when we defined this is the MVP. But at the end, I think like when we created the video, like there was one thing that I was not able to achieve. Like there was one call that I was not able to make it work as we were envisioning. But we sent the video like that. And next day I couldn't let go. I was like, no, let me just like 2-3 hours. And then I was able to do it. And it felt really nice because the MVP was what we expected. Like we were identifying the broken panels. And I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be useful for the future me and the future teams. And yeah, so it was quite nice.
What's happened since with it?
A lot of people join the channel and ask, so what is the plan for the future? And also one thing our project did, and is talking about reusing what other people have done in the past, we integrated the dashboard linter open source project into our hackathon. Like this is a CLI tool, but it's not integrated currently in Grafana, and the idea is like you have Prometheus and Loki and other queries, and you can like see if they are following best practices. Interestingly, it was not integrated in Grafana, so I was like, oh, this is a quick win. Just like call the service and then show that. So there were people suggesting like, oh, you should go and talk about this hackathon, about this project linter in a meetup. So there were like a lot of like, can you do something about it? And the answer is like, yes, but of course, everything is about priorities. We all have different teams, and we need to make sure that if we want to push this forward, need to be aligned with the right department, the right team. And I think in one point it will go into our team, into our department, because the Grafana dashboard sharing. So yeah, it will go into our scope. not sure when. Hopefully soon, because
Yeah, but you get that quick win, like you say. So yeah, that's the other thing. If you work, sometimes you end up on teams working on projects that are quite big and they take a long time before you can ship things. Obviously, you might still be doing that iteratively, but there's something also nice about a quick beginning, middle, end project which you can wrap up and deliver something. And that's why since Cursor and other AI kind of assistant tools, I've seen a lot of hackathons are now working software. Whereas before we used to have more slides and just like a hacked together prototype. You can actually ship working features. I saw some people just build a feature, something that they've just wanted to build for a while and haven't had the opportunity to. They just build a feature and it's a PR. And in that case, it's a kind of review and happy to maintain it. And then why not merge it? So yeah, but it gives you that satisfaction, doesn't it?
So what's the general feeling in this room? Is building it as a feature, is that better? Does that make everything better because it's more real and it speeds along development, or is it constricted somehow because now the expectation is that has to be fully functional?
In my case, I don't take any of the code of Hackathon as a feature ready. Like that slows down my way of working. If I am in Hackathon mode, I will just go and explore as many ways as I can to just deliver something. And then if this is something that is valuable, I will spend time into make it like feature ready. So I frequently don't go into that direction. However, I must say that in this Hackathon, because I was using, I don't use Cursor, but I use Claude Code, the CLI one. And for me, that's the perfect companion because my editor is not VS Code, it's Vim. So with Claude Code and Vim, it was like really, really good. So the plugin application that I created, it's missing unit tests, but it's actually generating good enough code that I could go now and see like, okay, we need to refactor things here and there, but it was working and it was like nice. So, and I'm not a plugin developer expert. I work frequently in dashboards. So that was quite amazing to see that like speed. In the past, I would spend a lot of time even trying to see how I create a scenes plugin application with all of these things. Here was like easy. So yeah, that was good.
It does. It feels like it's like writing a treatment for like a movie or a book or something, and you don't have to have everything fully, like the visual effects fully done. You're just like, yeah, and monster destroys building here, and you skip past it because you're like, that's if it's going to work, we'll build it later.
I think agentic tools, they make it so much fun and so much more competitive. I mean, the hackathons. I remember when I was still a freshman at university, and I think this was the very first hackathon we joined. It was a 24-hour one, and it was also kind of a general category. So there were many different ideas from many different domains. And I remember we really wanted to have something up and running. And so we obviously didn't sleep for 24 hours. We built, I think at that point, it was some sort of application that, like a mobile application where you could kind of import and trade coupons, like coupons for grocery stores, right? Because maybe you had a bunch of coupons lying around in your wallet, so you could have it uploaded and kind of trade it with other people, because maybe you don't need coupons for this particular shop, but maybe for something else, right? And I remember we had literally a mobile app up and running. At the time, Flutter was called. We built it in Flutter. I don't know why. And then it came up to the judges, right? Everyone had their own presentation at the end. I think 2-3 minutes to pitch their idea, right? We obviously prepared the presentation, pitched the idea, had even a little demo that kind of the app was working. And then we felt so devastated when we learned, it was also the first hackathon, but when we learned that the team that actually won the hackathon didn't have any working software. They didn't even create a repo. They just created a presentation in a couple of hours, went home, went to sleep, came back on site, right, and presented it. And so this is where I learned, okay, hackathons are not about code, they are about pitching the idea. And I think the dynamics are shifting these days, which for me as an engineer, it makes me very excited. I think I'm the most excited about hackathons this time around than I have ever been, because you can just ship so much software in a week. And the hackathon software is supposed to be scrappy, right? I sometimes call it, hackathon level software. It's not even experimental, right? It's supposed to be scrappy. You throw anything at the wall, right? And then whatever sticks, it's good enough. And I think Cloud Code or Cursor or other tools like this are really tremendous for this type of experimentation exploration.
I also, Alexa, you talking about the weekend or the week that you participated in the weekend, and Lukasz, I feel excited. It's like this level of excitement for almost anything that's different in a hackathon than it is if you were trying to build something earnestly. Like if you were to come to me and we're like, yeah, I'm thinking about building this coupon swapping app, it's going to be my next company. I'm raising some money. I'd be like, oh, like, all right, like, is that a good idea? Is it not? But as a hackathon, I'm like, yeah, go for it, right? Like, and yeah, if you got Pampers and you have, whatever, a coupon for this, like swap it. It feels like a level. It feels like you can kind of buy into almost anything is possible, and the stakes don't have to be immensely high, which also feels like you can kind of keep generating and going in different directions.
Yeah, because the commitment's also quite small. It's just a week, so it's not like so the bets are small, which allows you to make lots of them. There is something about you need that freedom to not ship anything. I personally like working software like that. I think that's sort of the point of what we're doing. So I always want that to be what I ship in my hackathon project.
I think you got to put the sign on the door. You got to say, what kind of hackathon is this? Is this the kind of hackathon that you're allowed to just put up 4 slides that pitches the art of the possible, or does it have to be something? And in here, for us, it has to be something. I don't see it. I mean, whether or not it's written in the rules, projects that don't produce anything don't really get very far, because there's just so many people that are producing and communicating, which feels really good. Self-policing in a way.
Yeah, but you do need the freedom for it to not be anything. Like, it has to be completely free to be anything, because then people will get really creative. And I don't know if I know we've had some projects that are just like science fair projects that people build in their houses, like physically. They build little hackathon projects like that as well. But usually, they are a Grafana feature or a new idea or something. But a few times, Sven and I, actually, we did all right on hackathons before. But one time I did a hackathon, which was taking Torkel's ideas around the drill down metrics kind of idea, and then did one with Cyril on logs, because Cyril knows the Loki backend in and out and was able to build what it needed in order to actually work. And that became then a squad. Like, a squad gets built around that project. The same thing happened for the assistant project. That started as a hackathon project. That in a week was fully working. And it's nowhere near as good as it is now after we've done so much more work on it. But there's something about the first version, it just has to be good enough. It just has to be a little bit better than what you had without it. And then it's valuable. And I think Hackathon teaches us that a bit. It's like you can deliver a small bit of value, and it doesn't have to be fully fleshed out or whatever, fully realized. And that's how I like to work anyway. Of like, my first versions of things, they are kind of hackathon quality PRs. Usually scope is way cut down, so it's not trying to do too much. Like, it tries to really focus on something. That's a kind of nice thing, and Hackathon is great for that, because you're really just doing a 5-minute pitch. That's all you can do.
And I think you touched on something really important here, which is, you mentioned 2 hackathon projects in which you took part personally, right? And then they actually made it to the product. I think this is a big part of what makes Grafana hackathons really successful, and also why engineers across the board are just super excited, because they know that if they build something, or maybe I won't speak for anyone, it is definitely something that keeps fire within me, that I know that if I build something cool for the hackathon, usually it doesn't even matter if you win, because there is just so many projects, and the bar honestly is so high for the internal hackathon, that it's not always about winning, but the fact that if a project is good enough, gets enough recognition, that you will actually get a shot and can build it into like a fully fledged product, or maybe something smaller than into a feature. And yeah, there are just so many examples of these projects that I see shipped. I think Drill Down Apps is probably the most remarkable one. Because for me personally, it changed just the way I use Grafana at all. I very rarely go into the OG Explore panel at this point. So that's really amazing to see.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's very nice. And honestly, it took people working on it that they don't work on that problem in their normal day-to-day. Like the hackathon team weren't people from Loki or from the other front ends for these databases. They were kind of outsiders. And they really, the ignorance that we had, which is sometimes useful, by the way, like everyone always wants to know everything. Genuinely, having some ignorance about something, I think you should be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely.
I was working on the log squad just before you, and also after you did that hackathon, and we had some projects, like several projects, where we really planned out something like that, an application just for Loki, together with other Loki engineers and like PMs and all that, and we thought for months, and then basically all it needed was just 1 week of people doing it, right? And that's so helpful sometimes.
Yeah, and it's no criticism, because the thing is, you get into a proper, like, in order to deliver software and have it maintained and be able to actually support customers, you have to be able to like build things in a sustainable way, and like you're always dealing with real customer requests. There's like a lot of real things in your day job that mean you can't do that. And that's the other thing the hackathons give you, is a break from that, so that you can just take a step back. Well, and we came in very ignorant, and we were like, instead of the user writes a query and then you run it on Loki, why don't we just write all the queries and run them all and just show you everything, and then that's like a high level overview and you can drill in from there. If we pitched that to the Loki team, that, you know, they spend so much time looking after the numbers of, like, the margins matter at that scale because it's enormous, Loki. So they spend a lot of their energy making it very efficient. So the idea that these cowboys just come along and they've got this app that essentially DDoSes their service, and I think in another company that would have been shut down. But here, the attitude is like, they took it like, okay, here's a challenge. This is now a new way. Yeah. People seem to like this. We're going to have to step up to the challenge here and figure out how to enable that at scale. And then, you know, you're talking like serious engineering that then goes into solving some of those problems. And it just started with a different user experience in a hackathon project. So it's really powerful and exciting, and they can have that impact. I can see why hackathons take part. I think even if there were no prizes, they would still be as popular. I
can go even a step further. I was actually hired into Grafana because of hackathon project. Like what we call today K6 extempo integration, or the way to correlate between performance load tests that are running with K6, and then that you can basically correlate end-to-end the entire flow due to tempo and due to traces, was actually started as a hackathon project. At this point, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. It didn't win. I don't think it got too far. It was kind of parked for some time, and then revived, and then actually I was hired. So hackathons really do have an impact.
So are you saying that you snuck into Grafana as a hackathon participant? You were not employed by Grafana, and eventually you were hired because no.
No.
He's still hacking.
Yeah, it was a colleague of mine. It was Daniel from the K6 team, who I think started and kicked this off in the hackathon initially, right? And then they actually decided to prioritize it and build a team around this. So I was first hired just as a single person to deliver this and ship it. Then we hired another person. Then we hired an intern. We shipped it. Obviously, other bunch of stuff happened, but this is kind of the way I got into Grafana. So it's actually because of a hackathon project becoming a production one.
I do want to, before we run out of time, I want to talk about, Lukasz, you were talking about this with the college hackathon, and this comes up a lot. And this idea around communicating the ideas, the way it's presented, and even Matt, I like how you talked about that sometimes it's self-evident and sometimes the feature itself is doing the communicating for you. Sometimes it's maybe less clear and you have to communicate it. Just talk to me about that approach, because it's so important. And I hear sometimes too, people grumpy that they built something, they did a terrible job explaining it, and then they're grumpy that it didn't get the praise that it deserved, but then the ideas never got put across, or it never highlighted what it was intending to do. How much weight in that week do you put on crafting the story, telling the value, blah, 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 blah?
So I mentioned earlier that I really hated the fact that hackathons in the past used to be, almost 100% shifted towards focusing on the communication part. But the reality is that I still do put a lot of weight on the communication. Our hackathons are usually a week. Now I think they tend to start before the weekend and they go over the weekend, and I think they end sometime late Thursday or something. So for me, we usually, or for my teams, I led, I think, 3 or 4 hackathons until the last time. What we usually do is we take the last 2 days and allocate at least 2 people to work on the presentation. I think it's also really wonderful that we have strict time on the presentation. Yeah. So for people who don't know, it's 5 minutes. So everyone has basically a time slot of 5 minutes which they can use however they want. They can, some people create fully fledged videos, YouTube level videos with B-rolls, etc. Some people just sit down in front of a webcam and just talk through a presentation. Some people literally sit down and all they do is just present. So it's up to whoever is leading the project. But yeah, in my case, I usually tend to allocate around 2 days, because we always went for a fully fledged video, because this is something that I also find as a nice artifact. I can then go and, I don't know, even show it to my girlfriend or my mom. Hey, look, I built this cool thingy. I actually can build stuff, right? So yeah, I do put a lot of weight on it.
And I'm glad you called that out, because when I say communication, I don't mean video production quality. It is just, can you articulate the idea and what it's intending to do and what's really cool and exceptional about it. And I do think that's the communication part. It's not the B-roll. Sometimes it's helpful if that propels the idea. Amazing, but
yeah. There were hackathons where the video wasn't super flashy.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and that makes me happy. It makes me.
And I think it's also been said explicitly that the video quality is not as important. I think probably still implicitly we tend to bias towards certain things, but I generally do feel like it's not the thing judges focus on.
Yeah, because it used to be, there are some people that make, the videos are so good that you think, what's the point of doing it if, it's I can't make it that good. I don't know. Just someone in Grafana used to just be a professional video editor. That was their job before. Their videos are epic. They're amazing. So, but yeah, you're kind of then forced to do something different. You're forced to kind of get creative to stand out in a different way. And I think that's also very healthy. But we certainly, we used to put a lot more weight on what the actual presentation was. And now it is more about, you've just got to communicate it. It doesn't have to be, some crazy production. Although there's some great ones, and I do hope, Matt, I hope we can share some more publicly. Yeah, because some of them are, I think, just fantastic. Yeah. Some of the work that people do.
But I think that's also good motivation to do a good video, because I think at least in the last 2 years at GrafanaCon, they always showed the last hackathon winner on stage. Or the recording of that video.
Yeah.
That was even handed in. So it was super real, but then also a good motivation to do a funny and a good recording in the end.
Yeah. When you see a hackathon video played live in front of a real audience and it gets laughs, the bits where they think, oh, this will be
And now
funny.
we're back to Jonathan,
and the audience,
right?
The audience actually laughing though in real life is, that's just great. that's worth putting some jokes in your video. And yeah, the audience is so friendly as well, so they're ready for it. So it's very sweet. But yeah, that is very good. Lukasz, you even show yours to your mom, but you just want to check your mom doesn't work for Datadog, does she?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Cool.
But my grandma.
Yeah. Splunk.
Actually, one of the hackathon videos I shared to my friends because it was quite creative. Literally, I use, like toys and the toys and also like paper to put graphics and stuff. It was quite interesting. I had a lot of fun doing that one.
Which project was that?
I don't know if I can mention that one because we didn't share. It was more like to see if we could create some auto migration tool from one specific open source tool to Grafana. So I don't think that I will mention because I remember we said I don't know. I will not continue that way. But it was quite fun to do that one. And one thing that in my case I always put for the videos is storytelling. Like why I would see a video if it's not something that it will tell me something. And data is perfect. Like just, I can tell you like, oh yes, X amount of customers have this specific problem. And that becomes too heavy if you are watching so many of these videos. And from my point of view, what I really like is just to tell the story of, okay, this idea came from this problem and this problem has a face, like someone who is struggling, because in real life, literally, someone is struggling with whatever we are trying to solve. So for me, I really like the storytelling part. And then for the production, I'm not a videographer or whatever, but sometimes when I have the time for producing the video, I really like to just play with that the last day. And if I don't have the time, like we just do something simpler. This time actually was really nice because Mari did a lot in the whole production, and she was just amazing the way that she just plays it. We did a lot of brainstorming since day one. What exactly did we want to scope for the end product, and what will be the story that we will tell at the end in that video? So it started early on because, well, we cannot show something that we cannot build. So that was our goal.
That video stood out though, the one with the cutouts and the cartoons and stuff. Like, that's it. You got to do something different.
I have to go find that now. I think I missed that. I think it was out.
That's what I mean. We should, well, if we can share them, we should for sure. At least internally. I want to set up something that just posts one a week. It's just like, just hackathon videos.
Hackathon movie night.
Yeah. Well, we do that, by the way. I get together with a group of people in an evening, and we watch loads of we watch like all the final hackathon, all the finalists.
Oh, you do that locally?
No, I do it it's virtual, but the other people are all over the world. But
do you just want to see yourself?
You just watch your hackathon videos.
No, I'm sick or tired of the look of my face by the end of editing the video. I don't like the look of my own face anyway. So making you have to look at that again and again while you're doing
torture.
It's torture for me. Everyone else is lucky, but for me,
the other thing that I wanted to talk about was we started here, and maybe this is a good end capping, but birds. So we're talking about, users, the face of users, solving a real problem, building software. And then you have every hackathon, there's at least a couple that just does something that it really has nothing to do with anything. And I find it's like the most fantastic projects. So talk to me about birds.
I mean, I think, so let me talk about the reason. I think Grafana is just used for all these kinds of things, right? I mean, we see every year at GrafanaCon how people land stuff on the moon or whatever they use Grafana for. So I think it's a totally valid reason to work on Grafana, and I love to do it in hackathons, mostly to learn about stuff. So, I mean, the last hackathon I built was Birds Drill Down, was trying to do a drill down app just for birds, but under the hood using a feature that was released in Grafana 12 or 11 maybe, using Grafana app platform. That's kind of a new way of building plugins and apps. And I didn't know how to do that. So I was very curious to figure out, use my data I have, like data about birds, because that's not something artificial. That's something I like to see in my dashboards. Why not use that as a reason to build a plugin or build a new app?
It's a great point. And I think people's curiosity, technical curiosity, drives a lot of choices too. It's like, I don't know, I just want to build this. I think a lot of AI agentic projects in the last hackathon came from that, where people want to know, you look into what does it take to be agentic? Like you said, Lukasz, earlier, for loops are back. For loops now, they've never been so exciting. So
I also think something that's really, really good here is, I mean, we all also use our products, use Grafana and all our databases nearly in our day-to-day job. So we have a good, like we can think very well about like new features or new products or how to use something in a different way and just do it and try it out. I was working at a company before Grafana and we built submarines. So it was very hard for me to just ideate or experiment on submarines, right? So
yeah, you don't see many birds.
Yeah, that's fish drill on maybe or something like that.
There's also Fishspan, which is the second version of Wingspan that just came out.
Oh.
Did you use Grafana at the submarine? Did you say?
No, not really. No.
But yeah, you do get some fish that have wings, don't you?
Flying? I saw a flying fish.
Flying
like
fish.
3 weeks ago.
That's
in
it.
Hawaii. It was cool.
Did you? Really?
Yeah, real.
Were they flying?
Honestly. Yeah. Birds are not real, but flying fish are.
How did it sound?
It sounded flappy. And it was probably about 6 or 8, and we were out in a boat, and you just see him go. It was cool. It was super cool. It was pretty.
Yeah.
Did the bird project give you any new perspective on your personal stance on whether birds are real?
I don't know if in any direction, but not really in a good direction, because we had a lot of AI, and I think the AI was hallucinating a lot. I think there's a play on that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I heard they were dinosaurs that evolved into birds. So if you trace them back, they come from dinosaurs. So that's cool.
Maybe they go back to dinosaurs as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, they evolve. That it's just like a loop.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for that. That will really
just a for loop again.
That will really spice up the London Marathon. I think I'll watch when that's happened.
I will just plug in a little conspiracy theory.
Because
it's
conspiracy corner.
really concerning.
Conspiracy corner.
Don't be so excited, Matt, because it's about you.
Uh-oh.
There is strange interest in things that don't exist across SLT in Grafana. So Matt here believes that birds don't exist, right?
Actually, I'm skeptical about Australian.
Yeah, there is something fishy going on, because Pavel from K6, he's also skeptical if beavers exist. And this was one of the very first thing I learned when I joined Grafana like 3 years ago. We go to an offsite and he's like, have you seen beavers, man? Like in real life.
Yeah.
Have you?
No, but we also have
I saw a beaver.
People that work in Brazil. Hold on, Matt, before you show off anymore about flapping fish and beavers that you've been
The
looking
fish are being chased by a beaver.
Yeah. Were they flapping? How did they sound?
It's like it's a flap, but the fish have a flap.
I see. We have
the beavers flap.
I work with some Brazilian people. Yeah, go on. We can just have 2 concurrent podcasts.
I thought you said.
No, go on, do it, because it's good. I just want to squeeze in to anyone listening to me. We've got a Brazilian. They'd never seen snow before. They're skeptical about snow. So that's quite a good one.
Jon Snow?
I can relate.
No, Jon Snow. They believe in Jon Snow. Sorry, Alexa.
I mean, I can relate. Like I am originally from Colombia. In Colombia, we don't have seasons. We don't have winter, summer, whatever. So we only have one temperature the whole year. And in Christmas, what we do is like we decorate everything with fake snow, but it's not even ice. It's that kind of like, the material that you use to cover the screens and stuff. So at some point when you're a kid, it's like you see movies, but is it really
cool.
exist? Because I never see it.
Yeah,
so I just saw
that's
it when I moved to Europe, and I was like, oh yeah, it's real.
I'm like that with Sunshine.
With Sunshine,
But when you say there's no seasons, when you watch Game of Thrones and Jon Snow's going like, winter is coming, like what do you think? You're like, well, you have to go on Wikipedia.
Yeah, probably. Like,
Who is he?
yeah.
Who's Winter?
Who is Winter?
Jon Snow is that weatherman from Game of Thrones. He's always going on about the weather, and he's like, a band of low pressures coming in from the east, so we're going to expect going to be very rainy. Get your big coats on and your jumpers, but it'll liven up over the weekend. So enjoy your weekend, you bastard.
But he's not a pirate, right?
He's not a pirate. No, that's I can really only do that one impression. It's Jack Sparrow and Jon Snow, basically. It's the same impression. Yeah, you've sussed it. Well, that's all the time we have, I'm afraid. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. This is really insightful. Quickly, what's your next thing you're going to hack on, if you've got an idea? Alexa, do you have something? What's next?
I think in my team right now, we are working in a new project about saved queries, query library. So I really want to do something that is aligned with repair and connected with that project. So I am already thinking because it's a week that I can explore, right? So maybe it's just trying different things around integrating these two things and maybe moving that direction of, hey, maybe this is a good idea if we want to promote that feature. That will be my thinking for now.
Nice. That sounds fun. What about you, Sven? Anything exciting coming up?
Well, I mean, at this point, it has to be fish drill down, I guess.
Yeah. Drilling for fish?
Yeah.
It's like fracking. Fracking is the new fishing.
Is fracking real?
I don't know.
We might find out.
Lukasz, what are you going to build next? What are you going to hack on?
I think we're actually going to iterate on the agentic monitoring idea. So just because the landscape of tooling is changing quite rapidly, for example, I think a week after or 2 weeks after we wrapped up the Hackathon project, Google has released their new conversational image segmentation with Gemini 2.5. And trying to figure out what buttons are on the screen of your web browser is one of the challenges we've been dealing with, right? And the regular LLM was surprisingly good at this, but the new capabilities, I think they throw it out of the window. And we also actually didn't try a real image model versus just using an LLM to which you can upload, a screenshot of a browser. So I think we're gonna take another stab at agentic monitoring, and also because we are not going to work on it in Q3, but we really want to work on it. And the earliest we will get a chance, I believe, is Q4. So I think a hackathon might be coming earlier. So it's our cheaty way to work on it a bit quicker.
Nice. Yeah, very excited. That project was very cool as well. So great projects. Matt, are you ever going to take part in a hackathon? Are you allowed to?
I have taken. ThanksBot was a hackathon project.
ThanksBot.
Do you know ThanksBot?
Yeah, you say thanks with it, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Because it saves you, so you don't have to be polite as a human. You can outsource your politeness to a bot.
It is a direct human-to-human connection. No, I did do it with Ed and a couple folks on the people team. But I was, it felt. I don't know. I wanted to participate in it because it scratched the itch that I wanted to scratch. So I'll probably do it again.
Yeah, I hope you do too. And I hope you listen again to our wonderful podcast, Grafana's Big Tent. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
On Grafana's... No, there it is.
Yeah, on Grafana's Big Tent.